See, yeah. Yeah. We covered them. Oh, yeah.
There. Good.
Oh. Yeah, my wife goes, "Oh, you get dressed up as well." I said, "If we get dressed up any more adequate." I go into the office once or twice a week. I got all these shirts. I never wear them. Yeah.
All right, we're going. Okay.
Tory Richard.
It is now 6:03 p.m. and this meeting of the Moana Neighborhood Board 11 is called to order. The purpose of the neighborhood board is to encourage civic engagement so our neighborhoods can be a great place to live, work, play, and thrive. We'll start our meeting with a moment of silence for Maui. As you may hopefully all be aware right now, the count is at 115 with over 800 people still missing. So let's go ahead and take a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. Roll call. Member Rodney Chang.
Here.
Member Richard Webb.
Here.
First Vice Chair Dyson Shi. Here. Secretary Jeannie Rice. Member Karen Shah. Treasurer Kim Iwamoto.
Here.
Second Vice Chair Lori Greenes. Present. Member Emma Davis.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum, public safety reports, Honolulu.
Hi, good evening. This is Captain Casey Ferreira from the Honolulu Fire Department, Paua Fire Station. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, okay. So I'll be delivering the stats for August. 3 structure fires, 5 nuisance fires, and 16 activated alarms, activated fire alarms. 169 medical responses, 3 pedestrian accidents involving a motor vehicle. We had 1 hazardous materials incident. I'll now be delivering our fire safety tip for the month. It has to do with fire and fall protection of our elderly. Help ensure the safety of our esteemed elders. Implementing prevention and preparedness practices will promote independence and reduce frequency of injury or death from home, fire, and falls. Learn more at honolulufiredepartment.gov. While cooking, stay in the kitchen when frying food and cooking on a stovetop. Keep a lid nearby. If a pan of food catches fire, slide the lid over it and turn off the burner. Secondly, ensure working smoke alarms are installed properly. Bed shakers and strobe alarms are available for hearing and visually impaired occupants. Plan your escape from fire based on your abilities. Keep your exit routes clear and ensure windows and doors open easily, and practice your fire escape plan. Be aware of your surroundings, including uneven surfaces. Take your time when getting out of a chair or out of your bed. Stand and get your balance before you begin to walk. Review your medications with your doctor and keep an updated list of medications, medical devices, directives, and emergency contacts posted on your refrigerator. And that concludes the fire safety tip for this month. Are there any questions for the Honolulu Fire Department?
They have first Vice Chair or second Vice Chair.
Yeah, of those emergency services called, were any of them heat related for our elderly population by any chance?
For the medical responses is what you're referring to?
Yes.
I am not sure what those stats would be. You can look up some of our incident responses on our Honolulu Fire Department website. You can access the incident run sheets there. In terms of how many of those 169 responses had to do with elderly, I would not have that answer for you right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? Okay, questions from the community. Okay, thank you for your report, Ms. Farrow. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
Honolulu Police Department, Lieutenant Seguso.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Chair Lee. So I'm going to be providing you guys the stats for July 2023. If you guys want more specific stats, you guys can go to our public website at www.honolulupd.org. So the stats for the month of July, motor vehicle thefts this month for July was 15. The previous month was 14. Burglaries it's down 7. Previous month was 16. Thefts is 103. Previous was 93. UMVs or car break-ins were 25. Previous to that was 33. Assaults were 14. Previous 17. Sex assaults were 4. Previous month was 5. Graffiti cases were 4. Previous month was 1. Drug offenses were 6. Previous month was 7. Total calls for service for your particular area was 4,955 calls. Previously to that, it was 5,657. So there was about a 702 less calls this past month of July compared to the previous month. We're attributing that to Narco Vice doing some operations in the area. They were being led by Sergeant Leland Kuriishi and Lieutenant Domingo Manog. They had actually effected 3 search warrants at 3 different locations and had um, created and generated and criminal cases coming out of those locations. Yeah, I just wanted to give the board an update that we are at this point starting the 313 work schedule. We started it on the 20th, so last Sunday was the first day. We just want to reassure the public that there will be no interruptions in service and just continue to call when needed. Safety tip for the month is in regards for August is in regards to credit card skimmers. It's here, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming from the mainland. It's here present. We've been receiving several cases in the downtown and Kaka'ako area in regards to some credit card skimmers being used. First tip we're gonna allow, we're gonna kind of relate to our community members is look at the device. Compared to other devices within the stores, it should look the same. It should not look any other difference. If there's anything bulky attached to the device, question it. Secondly, I would ask the sales rep if they check their devices prior to starting their shift. And also, you guys can also implement some sort of credit card notification in regards to purchases, especially if the purchase is made out of state or even out of country. If that happens, please contact your credit card companies immediately to stop all preceding charges after that point and report it to HPD. At this point, I'm going to yield back the rest of my time so I can take questions from the board members and the public attendees.
Thank you, Lieutenant Seguso. Questions from board members? Hey. Questions from the community? Mr. Ling Mariano.
Hey, Lieutenant, this is Ben. Thanks for all what you guys do. I just had a question. It's really more safety. You know, I know you folks have done sweeps of some of the homeless and all that. But my concern is the other day I was driving on Moana Boulevard and I saw a homeless tent set up in the median, you know, the middle. And my concern there would be, you know, someone driving off the road and getting on that median and then running over that tent. It's a pretty big tent. It's over by Moana. And then at the same time over, we clean up the area on Ki'ikoi. It's right outside of our neighborhood board, but it borders with Makiki. But right there at that corner of 7. I'm gonna say Lunalilo.
Yeah, Pico and Lunalilo.
Yeah, right there in that area. My concern is that early in the morning, is there something that can be done to have an officer or someone standing there, particularly when the kids are now going to school? Because that's a pretty dangerous area.
Okay, so let me answer the first one first.
Yeah.
So it was about the RCPs or the residentially challenged persons living in the area of Moana Boulevard. So, so what usually happens at night is we usually close the beach park at 10 o'clock. So we push pretty much all of the people that's within the park out of it vehicles, and what have you. So the residentially challenged persons, normally they cross the street. Sometimes they don't make it all the way because they have a lot of items that they're carrying, and then they end up on the grassy medial. I'm gonna refer that to my Sector 4 sergeants for final disposition. We'll see what we can do in maybe getting them off of those grassy medial. But once they cross the street, then Alamoana gets involved, and you see that there's a kind of a tug and toll in regards to moving them along. Yeah. So sometimes on those nights we might have to just make sure that they're secured in their particular area, and then once the park opens up, they usually move back into the park, which we cannot really stop. In regards to the Pico and Luna Little area, I'll take that back to my command in regards to posting an officer over there. But just realize this: early in the morning is a very busy time for us. Normally, we're engaged in a lot of toll zones. So District 1 and your particular area, Kapilani Boulevard, has a lot of toll zones that we got to take care of. If not, a lot of people don't get to work on time. So that's where all of my officers are actually being allocated to the work and stuff like that. But let me take that back to my command and see if we can get someone over there to assist in the kids getting to school safely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Member Emma Davis?
Hi, yeah, just a few questions to follow up the statistics you talked about. For the 14 assaults that you mentioned, is there any particular location within our like within our district that you see that happening more frequently?
That is a very good question. So if you go to the public website, there is a web crime map webbing application. If you go into there, they'll actually show you the locations where all of these crime stats are actually occurring. Majority of the time, it's in the 176 180 beat area, which pretty much is the Kapilani corridor that fronts all of those liquor establishments between I want to say Pensacola all the way to Atkinson. So that's where usually all the assaults occur. Obviously, when you get alcohol involved into the mix, usually assaults do occur. But we patrol that location heavily. It's a double covered beat, so there is actually two officers that are supposed to be watching that beat, or cover officers.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that information, or pointing me in that direction too. Because it's something I'm curious about. Second question is just in regards to the credit card skimmers. Same thing, common places, and follow-up question, is it just with scanning cards? Is it tap to pay? If you pay with Apple Pay, all of that can be picked up by these devices, or is there like one method that maybe is safer than others?
I think they're so pretty much it's the skimmer. So it's the one that you kind of plug in the card, or you scan the card, you swipe it through. If you look at the device, you can really tell it's fairly easy. I just did it at Ross the other day. I mean, it's my favorite place to shop. I looked at the other credit card devices, and then the one that we were actually working on, or I was about to use, didn't look the same. It had a different cover. I questioned it. I kind of tugged on it also. They just said that, you know what, it's a newer machine, blah, blah, blah. So at least we question it, right? We're not just gonna blatantly use it. So there's another scam too that's going on, right? It's that tap application, right? So certain ATMs, instead of sliding in your card, you can do the tap application, right? But just realize this: once you do that tap application, if you don't terminate the transaction or finish the transaction and you leave, that application is still running, so the next person can come on and they can there's been cases where they've gone on and taken out money in that sense, right? So, you know, or people will tell you, oh, use the tap instead of use the, you know, inserting the card into the device. So pretty much just do your due diligence by just looking at the device. You're gonna be it'll easily be seen that there's something attached onto the device. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from board members? Questions from the community? Okay, thank you, Lieutenant Segucho. Appreciate you being here today.
Sorry, I think there's Joseph. I think has his hand up. Why didn't
Hi,
I?
Lieutenant. Yes. So I just wanted to bring another area to your attention regarding the homeless, I guess, issues. I live in the Alawai Promenade. And there's currently an encampment growing by the day, kind of in the middle of the promenade on the Moana side. And, you know, in addition to camping, they set fires daily for cooking, and are running mopeds up and down the promenade, kind of all times of day and all times of night, you know, which is posted as illegal activity. So I just want to put that on your radar.
Absolutely. I'm gonna take that back to my command. We've been having a lot of calls being generated from the Alawai Promenade, uh, especially right there, right behind the convention center. So I'm gonna speak with my bike detail, park detail. They should be on ATVs, patrolling that location. However, sometimes they're reallocated to other things. An example, this past weekend, I think they were utilized to help cover due to the Korean festival that was at the Fasi Municipal Building. So yeah, but I'll definitely bring that back to my command and make sure we get some ATV units on the promenade to address those situations. I apologize.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions from community members? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Item
Wait, I have a question. This is Mahesh. I just don't know how to raise my virtual hand, so please forgive me. I just got here as officer, so maybe you addressed this already. But I'm wondering what they're doing about Queen and South Street and King Kapiolani, like being the racetrack with all these cars, these hot rod cars and these noise. I keep putting in complaints to 311, but nothing happens. And it starts at 4:30 in the morning. It goes throughout the day, and sometimes 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And I live on the 13th floor, so it's not like I'm on ground level.
Yeah, so in regards to that, I know a lot of the sound from the Kapilani Boulevard area, King Street area, it kind of pipes upward, yeah, in those in that Kapilani corridor or the King Street corridor, because there's a lot of high buildings and stuff like that. We've been trying to address the loud muffler situation, especially with these mopeds. So I'll go ahead and relate that back to my command. I know that we've seen some of those 311 calls. We've been addressing them. So I don't know if you have been getting the results from those checks or if any citations were issued.
No,
It's
the officers tell me, call the mayor's office and put in an OIC. And I did that, and still it happens. And it's like, it's not just the scooters, it's the motorcycles and the cars. I mean, sometimes I'm listening to something and I can't even hear what I'm listening to, and I'm only a foot away from my iPad because of that. And it's just gotten worse since the end of COVID. It just seems like everybody and their brother has, a loud sounding vehicle.
I apologize for that. We'll try to make more checks of the location, but I think the better way to attack this situation is to get together with City Council in regards to the safety check process. So when these vehicles go for safety checks, they should also be, there should be some sort of decibel meter at the location, maybe to test it. But I think that would have to be there would have to be some sort of rule or regulation in regards to the safety check measures. But I think there should be, though, because we do have one for loud mufflers. But we should also be checking that during the safety check process also.
Yeah, no, one of the officers said what they do is once they bring their car in for a safety check, they dismantle whatever it is. They get their safety check and then they go put it right back on again. So it's like, and I know that the police department is overworked on, and this is not a high priority, but it really is stressful to be living in a high-end neighborhood and paying a lot of rent and have to listen to noise all the time.
Yeah, I apologize, Ms. K, but we'll try our best. And then, just like I said, I'll go speak with my legislative liaison, try to see if there's anything that we can do in regards to
thank you.
City Council.
Thank you, Ms. Mahesh K. and Lieutenant Sagusha.
I have a bumper.
Treasurer Iwamoto.
Thank you. I listen in Sigusho. Is there anything, like we have speed cameras so they capture, I don't know, not speed, but if you go through a red light, are there any kind of cameras that can be activated by a high decibel of sound at an irregular time of day that would capture an image of the vehicle?
You're muted, Lieutenant.
Oh, so there's a project going down in regards to the Waikiki area, if I'm not mistaken. We can get together with Senator Morawaki. I think there's some sort of noise variance that they're doing, but I think it's more for establishments. Now, in regards to vehicles, I don't know how that will occur because it's kind of hard, especially if there's a lot of vehicles in one particular area. We cannot really say. I mean, we can make a good guess of which vehicle is making that loud noise. But I don't know if we can just pretty much determine that from a photo. It might be kind of difficult.
Thank you, Treasurer Yamamoto and the Tansuku Show for responding to our questions as well. Any other questions? I have a second Vice Chair Farinas.
Hi, Representative Tan. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm so curious to know, how is that sound variance that's been implemented?
Explain it. You want to explain it now?
Or just, perhaps for our our member and our.
So, I'll just stand right here.
And I think the understanding is like Waikiki is like a test.
Yeah. Well, actually, we didn't just put it into Waikiki. It's Senate Bill 588. We passed it. There's special funds that have been put into it for a pilot project, and the Department of Transportation is going to go into communities and ask communities whether they want this. They are prioritizing areas that have received a lot of noise complaints. But it is still in the beginning stages of it because it was just signed into law like 2 months ago. But we're hoping that this project will be very successful in cracking down on illegally modified mufflers. These cameras have been employed in various cities and municipalities and states, from like Colorado and New York to like Taipei and Amsterdam. I really am skeptical about the idea of like doing safety checks for noisy mufflers, because what ends up happening is they can demodify their vehicle, take it in for a safety check, get it all passed, and then leave the safety check inspection area and then put back their noisy muffler onto that vehicle. It's really not that hard. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I was hoping to shed some light for our neighbor, Maheshi, because that was her main concern. And
yes, it is coming. I do have a meeting with the Department of Transportation very areas where ecological noise is very strong. We're going to take that data to see whether or not this project works, which we expect it to work, and B, how much it's going to cost to put it everywhere else where there's a lot of other traffic noise concerns and complaints. So after the pilot program, we're going to reassess how much the rest of it's going to cost.
just off the cuff, has it been successful? And have you noticed a deterrence? Has people in the neighborhood saying that, hey, it's really helped curtail the noise, or is it just still status quo?
It hasn't been put into the roads yet here.
Okay.
But from what I've heard from other states and other municipalities that have done it, it has been widely successful. And it's a pilot program. So if it is not successful, we will scrap the idea and go back to the drawing board.
Thank you. And when you come in person, I'm going to ask you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Rep. Tam. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mario?
Yeah, thanks. So when you said this is a pilot program, I think it's pretty good. It's similar to what they use other places like ShotSpotter. So my question to you is that you're doing this pilot program, This is at the state level, right?
Yes.
So hopefully you're engaging the HPD and the other county, but mainly here because it's a pilot program, but getting HPD so they can help also evaluate that aspect, because once it's passed and once you accept it, they have to enforce it. And if they're not coordinating or have input beginning stages, then that they can enforce. That's something that doesn't have common sense. So I hope that you're including law enforcement.
So the issue has always been about enforcement. Law enforcement has always come to the legislature and the city council saying that they can't enforce noise variances
Right.
because they aren't trained to handle these decibel readers. So we took out the middleman with these noise camera bills, which, you know, you can't argue with a computer.
Yeah.
These technology has gone so advanced nowadays that, you know, these computers can actually recognize where the sound is coming from, measure the decibel, take a screenshot of the license plate, the decibel reader, as well as the time of day and the area.
I'm familiar with that technology. All I'm asking is if we can include HPD in the early stage so that we can get the right type of information, because once you, they're gonna have to enforce it.
And going back to, let me finish my statement.
Sure.
You know, of course, we're going to include HPD into this because right now it's a state project, and we are asking the Department of Transportation to work with the city level, and that includes HPD.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Maheshi K, you had another question?
Yes, for the councilman. He said that they would determine where to put these cameras by the amount of noise complaints that they got. Who are they going to? Like, who do we complain to? Are they going to HPD and to 91311? Or is there like another council person to call? Or how are they determining the amount of calls that people are putting in about noise complaints? Who are they getting that information from? So I know who I would need to call to let them know.
Councilmember Say, looks like you may be able to respond.
Yes, may I respond, Kathy?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me just say this for Maheshi. First and foremost, Representative Tam is correct, but it's the Department of Health, the noise pollution branch that is in charge. Okay? Secondly,
you.
for HPD, this afternoon we had a marathon hearing, and one of it dealt with reserved parking zones. I would like to have your support, all of you, that when HPD does the fines or the citations, the fines do not come to the city. And I brought this up because they wanted to do the reserved parking zones in Kalihi. You have the safety check stickers that you all see where it's expired. And third, the mandate from the state in regards to tinted windows. All of these mandates from the state is forcing Lieutenant Sigasio to do all of this work without us getting any of the monetary fines. And that's where I'm coming up publicly today, that it is unfair to have these type of unfunded mandates upon the city and HPD in doing all of these enforcements. So I just share that with you. But for the noise pollution, it is the Department of Health branch, the noise branch. And then after that, Officer Platt in Waikiki, right, Representative Tam? We tried addressing the noise pollution in regards to the streets, the entertainers, and that didn't work also. So all of this, we're trying our best, and I hope that the technology that the state has in measuring the decibels of noise pollution can be shared with HPD. But I go one step further to make the request to all of you to ask your state legislators if the city can have some of the fines. We're doing all the enforcement, but we're not getting any of the fines from these violations. So in closing, I was very much frustrated because it seemed like today's society, they're just flaunting the law. Until I get caught, on my safety check, then I'll do it. Tinted windows, I think about Lieutenant Sigasio, because if you can't see through the window, driver's side, you don't know who's in there. If that person has a gun or whatever. And that was for public safety. But how can we enforce these things when we're not even being compensated? The city and counties of all 4 counties. So I bring this up because it has been bothering me. Mandate this, mandate that. And who does all the enforcement? HPD. Is that their responsibility to measure noise pollution? You call a spade a spade.
Councilman Say, when you say get in touch with your legislatures, are you talking about the House or state or both?
Both House and Senate.
House and Senate, that's what I meant. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I'm ranting and raving. I had a long hearing.
Thank you, Councilmember Shea, for responding to that, and Ms. Kay as well. If there are no further questions on HPD's report for this evening, we'll move on to board business. We currently have 2 vacancies in Subdistrict 1 and Subdistrict 2. We'll start with Subdistrict 1. Are there any nominations to fill the vacancy for Subdistrict 1? Okay, so we'll put that back on the agenda for the next meeting. Any nominations for the vacant position for Subdistrict 2?
I have a nomination. I'll
Go
get
ahead, Member Chang.
former board member Lynn Mariano sitting in the audience.
A second.
Okay, looks like we have a nomination for former board member Lynn Mariano. Okay, roll call vote to have Mr. Lynn Mariano to be on the board for Subdistrict 2. Go down the list. Member Chang,
Yes.
I say yes. Member Webb,
Yes.
First Vice Chair Chi,
Aye.
Treasurer Yamamoto,
Aye.
Second Vice Chair Farias. Aye. Member Davis.
Aye.
Okay, it looks like it's unanimous. Welcome back to the board, Mr. Lynn Morano. Pull up the chair. Community members out there, if anyone would like to fill the vacancy for Subdistrict 1, please let us know.
Yeah, she just called my thanks. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for Did we recess?
So
Yeah,
we should
quick recess.
should we be doing it on the record?
That's true.
You've done it.
Yeah. Fine. Well, I do exactly what you mean. We did it in front of everyone during the whole thing of July 1st.
Can they hear? You could be.
Can they hear us?
Yes.
Out there.
Yes.
I thought maybe they could hear that.
So we could just watch that. Did you?
Okay, we just swore in Mr. Lynn Barry Mariano to be back on the board for Subdistrict 2. Thank you, Spencer, for your assistance with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, that's what I think, Spencer.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Approval of the July 25th, 2023 initial convening meeting minutes. Anyone have any edits to the minutes?
This is just a little technicality.
Go for it.
So, Spencer, my name is Kim Koko Shimamoto.
Oh,
That's okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, I think
It was in the
I think
minutes?
the minutes it just says
Okay.
Kim.
Okay, I'm
Oh.
so sorry.
That's. my name.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone.
This is a small typo, sorry.
This is what this is here for.
Yes, McCoy, so instead of COI, COY.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For your participation.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, attendance at other meetings. I'm sorry. Sub-district reports? Anyone have any reports from their sub-districts?
Oh, I have one.
Member Chang?
Regarding the alarms that are sounding from Kalakaua homes, HBHF actually called me up and I gave them more details. I submitted a video of the actual alarm, the 311. And then also I've got a couple other videos and reports from other community members about the alarm. So they're going to go back to the Kalakaua homes. And it was just kids pulling the alarm, but because it was sounding so often at various times, it could be a faulty alarm. So we're going to look at it. That's my report.
Okay. Thank you, Member Chang. That was for sub-district 1.
Yes.
Thank you, appreciate that. Anyone else have any reports? Attendance at other meetings. Would anyone like to share anything from other meetings that they have attended that may be pertinent to this meeting? Okay. Moving on to presentations, we have Mr. Isaiah TK Salto from RMTEL Corporation to present on 2 items, 1322 to 1356 Kapiolani Boulevard and KCR development. Okay.
I'm in with the board. So I got a teammate in the corner right now. She's gonna share her screen and then should come up in front of you guys. You needed a plug, so yeah, get the plug going. So we're getting a presentation ready so that the members online can.
Is she able to share?
She should be able to share.
Nothing.
Okay. So, but anyway, while we get that going, thank you for having us today. My name is Isaiah Sato, and I work with RMTEL Corporation. Really appreciate Chair Kathleen Lee, Treasurer Umoto, and the rest of the members for allowing us to present here today. Today, I'm going to be talking on 2 projects. The first project is the 1356 Kapiolani Boulevard development. So, for both of these projects, they're planning on getting entitled through the City and County of Honolulu IPDT process. So that's the interim plan development transit process. The schedule, and I have a quick one in the presentation, but we start with you guys. Yeah? We come here first, and then we submit to DPP, which we haven't done yet. We submit to DPP, and then it ultimately goes to council, and then back to DPP that way. But for this project, thanks you, Elena. I have members online from the developer as well as from the architectural team. So if Elena, if we could skip to the next slide, and then I'll pass this off to Adam from Crescent Heights, who will be talking.
That's fine. Yeah. Thank you very much for taking the time to hear about our project. Sorry I couldn't be there. My wife and I just had our first baby, so I'm helping out with that. Just a little bit of background about Crescent Heights. We are a family-owned and operated company. We've been around for about 40 years, doing projects in most of the America's largest cities. We've done almost 40,000 apartments, condos. You can see from the West Coast to the East Coast. If you go to the next slide. Most recently, we've done a bunch of award-winning projects in San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, all urban, kind of transit-oriented mixed-use projects with residential, retail components, all kind of award-winning, high quality, highest levels of environmental sustainability, all union developed. and all kind of developed a lot of community feedback. So you go to the next slide. And just by way of background, in 2005, we also did the Ala Moana hotel conversion. And in 2006, we did the Koalani. So you may be familiar with those. And then I will pass it on to the architects.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Hakes with Handel Architects. I'm a principal here. I'll keep my video off just for bandwidth. But I'm also here with Glenn Scalo, a partner in our office, and Katie Miyoshi, our project architect. And we're based in San Francisco, and we have offices in various places, including New York, Boston, Denver, and Hong Kong. And we've worked a little bit in Hawaii over the years. So we're a leading high-rise and residential hospitality design firm. I'm going to walk you through a few of our projects, starting with Hokua, which I hope you're familiar with and like. But it's a classic project of ours there in Honolulu, a few blocks from the site. And we completed this about 15 years ago or so. Next. 10,000 in Los Angeles is another project of ours, and this is important because we did this with Adam and Crescent Heights, and this is one of the top residential rental buildings in the Western United States, and we're particularly proud of this one. Next. And just a quick selection of other similar projects done by our office. We worked on an older scheme for Princess Ka'ilani several years ago. Isaiah's let us know there's another project on the way, but we kind of like our version. And as well as the Rosewood in Abu Dhabi, a hotel and mixed use project, the Proper Hotel in Austin, and Four Seasons private residence and 340 Fremont here in San Francisco. So that's a little bit about our firm. Next.
Thank you, Jim, and for that introduction. So we have some slides on the project. I'm going to try to go through it quickly so we have time to for Q&A. But the developer, Hoaka Heights, is proposing to construct a mixed-use development comprised of 891 condo hotel units. The entitlement process is through the IPDT. Through this process, the applicant is able to build up to 400 feet and a floor area ratio of 10.0, subject to a commensurate provision of community benefits. On this next slide, we have a location map which shows the Ala Moana TOD areas. So the kind of looks purple on the screen, but for those online, it should be light blue. The light blue area is the Ala Moana TOD boundary. So it goes all the way from Pensacola to Kalakaua and down to Ala Moana Boulevard. But just to orient yourselves here, again, of course, the lower side Makai of the beach park, going upward, right below the project site, there's Kapiolani Boulevard. So the project site is on the corner of Kapiolani Boulevard, Sheridan Street and Makaloa Street. So it's the existing running route lot. And here too in pink, we show the proposed future potential rail station location there. And next slide, please. And this next slide shows the project site. In that image in the top right, again, we're in that corner of Kapiolani, Sheridan, and Makaloa. Immediately on the Diamond Head side, uh, 1.3 acres, just about in zone BMX3 business mixed use. And that image at the bottom is on Kapiolani, kind of standing on the Makai side of Kapiolani, looking Malpa there. So runners route on the left side, Sheridan Street, and this next slide shows just 3 existing site photos that were compiled on the top one is Kapiolani Boulevard, so just looking straight toward the site. I'll just go through this quickly, but the middle one is Sheridan Street and the bottom one is Makaloa Street there. Next slide, please.
Sorry, what's the arrows? Notice on your.
Oh, the arrows on that, a little hard to see, but they're the existing entrances and exits.
Oh, okay.
So the driveway in and outs
Got it.
on
Thank
the
you.
site too. Yeah, so this, we'll start on the left side of this one too. So the project is a condo hotel, primarily a condo hotel project. So in the current program, there's 891 units, and the units are from junior suites up to 2-bedroom suites. On the ground floor, we have a space that we're trying to find the right home or the right use for it. Right now, we're looking at potentially retail, maybe a local art or street gallery or a small business incubator. We're very open to suggestions. It's about 2,500 square feet, but that area is there. The building height is up to 400 feet. On the right side, again in yellow, is that retail area, the parking podium, 8 levels in gray. Pink is amenity, and the remaining tower primarily the condo. Next slide, please. This next slide, I'll ask Jim to talk a little bit about some of the architectural design and thought that went into this.
Thank you, Isaiah. So this slide shows our massing development. On the left, the first diagram, that's the site, as it is now. And as you can see, it's shaped a little bit unusually with the way Sheridan comes into a point at Kapiolani. The second diagram is really the zoning envelope, right? It's kind of what would the code allow. And as you can see, it's a kind of bulky a building. What we wanted was something that was more dynamic and responsive. So first we respond to the angle of Sheridan as one design feature, but more importantly, what that does is let us pull the tower away from its neighbors and really preserve the view corridors along Sheridan and between Mackay and Mauka. So that's the third diagram. And on the far right is the massing, that we're actually proposing. And what we're trying to do is really emphasize the corner at Kapiolani and Sheridan and keep a slim profile there and really set this building up to be a gateway to this part of Kapiolani. Next.
So this next slide,
is.
I can jump in, Jim. So the purpose of this slide was to show our context in the vicinity. So the building is right there, kind of front and center is that development. I'm gonna point to the thing from that. This building right here, this central building, there was an active there's the side development that's almost done for construction. The set of this building is already there as well. This one, the first one is on which was the title of we're gonna have DC, not the construction built yet. And there's some other projects in the vicinity, but the intent was that our proposed location and design we would like to fit into the character of this Kapiolani corridor with the buildings in the vicinity there. Next slide, please.
Sure, I'll continue, Isaiah. Thank you. So here in the renderings, you can see more detail that you started to see on the massing. And on the left at Kapiolani and Sheridan, as I mentioned, we really want to emphasize this corner and have a dynamic appearance here to set up the kind of gateway. And on the right is the view more from the Mauka side, which a lot of people will see actually. But we tried to articulate this with vertical reveals and expressing the slab edge so that this facade is really as kind of nice as the side facing Kapiolani. And you can see that on that side facing the ocean, we have lanais that are kind of shaped to reflect the waves of the water. And that's kind of our inspiration for the facade design along the Mackay side. You can also see in here the materials that we're proposing are warm and residential and meant to relate to the landscape along the street and on our deck that's on the podium. Next. Next slide, please. Great, thank you. And this is a zoomed in view of the corner at Kapiolani and Sheridan. And you can see we're really trying for a dynamic appearance here. We're trying to set back the building as it approaches the ground. And but you can still see the tower up above, including the facets and wave pattern with the lanais. The lobby is really front and center on this corner, but separated by a landscape garden that you can see in the foreground, and then continuing along Kapiolani, especially we preserve the existing trees and really try to make this a nice walkable corridor that people appreciate and really make this building the entrance to the Kapiolani corridor. Next. Okay, and then last we have on the Sheridan and Makaloa side a parklet that we're proposing as a potential community benefit. So we would improve this corner with a range of landscaping, benches and seating areas and paths, so that it would kind of serve the community. But then this area also serves as a buffer to kind of step down toward the neighborhood that is low rise and toward the market side. So that's an overview of our design. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. So for this next slide, as you guys know, the additional height density is commensurate of community benefits. So the applicant is contemplating various community benefits. The primary one is a contribution towards the affordable housing stock and or partnerships and fees. So we're keeping our options open right now. We're exploring on-site affordable housing, off-site affordable housing, in partnerships and fees, partnering with other affordable housing projects. So we're looking at our different options, and we plan on having that more detailed when we submit to DPP for review. The next two, bike share program, we want to incorporate a bike share program similar to BT, a car sharing program like Hui, electric vehicle charging, that local art gallery, or it's called business incubator on the ground floor potentially, an on-site water and wastewater recycling program, and educational partnerships, and that open space, that pocket park at the corner of Makaloa and Sheridan Street, the last rendering ones we're looking at as a potential community benefit there, as well as public art. Next slide, please. And this next slide is our ground level plan, or landscaping plan. So to orient yourself, below is Kapiolani Boulevard, the left side is Sheridan Street, and the top is Makaloa Street. Starting kind of from the bottom along Kapiolani Boulevard, there's many beautiful monkey pods along that corridor, and we are anticipating to keep them in their existing condition. At that Kapiolani and Sheridan, to open up the area and provide lush landscaping, planting, potential seats or grading to accentuate that area as a strong entrance to this Ala Moana TLD and Ala Moana area there. Along Sheridan, we have a port to share there, and in the top part of this, at the Sheridan Makaloa corner, we're looking at potentially open or improving this area. That Makaloa parklet, what we're calling, is within the city right away, so it would take partnerships or working with the city to figure out what can be done there, what we can help, and what kind of benefit it would count. And our main driveway accesses would be on Sheridan and Makaloa Street there. Next slide, please. So
Can you repeat what you said about the monkey pod trees again?
Yes.
You anticipate that you're going to?
Yeah, so in our current design, the way we got our program, we looked at our building facade and utilities in the area. We should be able to keep them. And we're gonna continue to explore that, well, before we see what we can see, but we, plan to keep that. This next slide shows the reflected zoning flexibility. So on the left side, it has the requirement or the recommendation. So the building height is, for this site, is 250 feet, but up to 400 with the IPDT program. The FAR on the second line is, the underlying zoning is 2.5, and it's up to 10.0 with community benefits. Their height setbacks as well as a podium height, 65 feet there. We're proposing to develop up to the 400 feet 10.0 FAR to encroach into the transitional height setback and to develop a podium. Right now it's designed at 7 feet or 5 feet above the recommended 65 feet. The bottom two images are tips from the Moana 2D plan. The left side shows that we're in a 10.0 FBR area, and the right side is a 400 feet area. And the next slide is my last slide, and then I'll open it up to questions. But this is just a really brief timeline. So we, again, we're still working on our application. We're still refining our design. But the next step, once we get our traffic studies, our utility studies, all of that is to submit to the city Department of Planning and Permitting, and they take the first review, and then it would go to City Council for review and adoption via resolution, and then back to the city for a special district permit. So public-wise, DPP during that process, or during DPP review, there is a public hearing there, and City Council will have public hearing or a public forum as well. And that's it for me.
Member Yamamoto?
Thank you for your presentation. Can you think of a condo hotel that has affordable housing right now?
So the one that comes to mind is actually Sky Ala Moana. So Sky Ala Moana, that they didn't move in yet. They're hoping to move in the next month or two, but they have 3 different uses. They have a condo hotel, they have affordable housing, and they also have residential housing, but they have 2 towers, but one is residential and the other is split between condo hotel and affordable housing. There.
Thank you. Yeah, so it feels like this, so it's more of a comment than a question. It feels like Waikiki is slowly encroaching into really a residential neighborhood, and it just feels like it's, it's sprawling and it's coming closer, and it just makes me think that it's going to make the urban core of Honolulu less affordable for, as we, so I'm really nervous about that. So I don't know, it's not really a question, more of a concern.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that feedback, Treasurer Iwamori.
Thank you. Mr. Santo, super basic question.
No.
When you talk about podium height, what does that refer to?
Yeah, so usually buildings are, I guess, in general, are buildings, you have a parking podium or the base of the structure. That height is usually very bulky, takes up a larger portion of the lot, and then as you go up, it kind of gets skinnier. I think you see that a lot of times. Moana Pacific or other areas, you have a recreation deck on top of the podium, and that's fairly common practice. Traditionally, it's often a parking podium, but a lot of times it's.
And that's calculated within the 400 feet height?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So the podium is just, if you think about the building, it's the base. Yeah, it's like the first so many.
That's pretty tall podium. My main concern is for the amount of variances you guys are asking for. That's a lot. You need a lot of community benefit. Pretty sparse. So I think you guys can step up the game on community benefit. Things like peaky parking or ride sharing. Come on. you talk about community benefit. What is community there going to be able to have with your development? Nice that you guys are considering that little parklet. That place is terrible. It's not been taken care of forever. It's brown, it's dying, it's terrible. Roots everywhere. Are you planning to have pet friendly?
Yes. I anticipate, yeah.
You
I'd have to actually check with the developer on that,
you
but
get pet friendly, you need to have more yard space. Because even if you have a little dog run on your recreation deck, I can guarantee you your residents are going to walk their dogs in the community. And when they do their business, they need someplace to do it. So we need a little bit more green space on the ground level. And like I said, you're gonna have to come in with a pretty big number on affordable housing for what you're asking for as far as the variance is concerned. Otherwise, you're already getting pushed back here. Wait till you get to the community input section. So I think you guys need to up your game when it comes to your community benefit. And I think maybe while you're doing this, if you come up with something else, come back to us and let us see what you got in mind. And maybe you'll get some support from this board. But at this moment, you're getting a little bit of pushback on this particular development. And I think that we need to address that. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Chang. Member Marietta.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things that my colleagues were mentioned, and I really want to repeat what they said. So I just want to add, that's, if I heard it correctly, you're making the assumption that you automatically with this development, it's going to be at 400 feet. The TOD is 250, if there's an exception. We got to go for an exception. So you're looking at planning this already that it's going to be 400 feet. Second, unit size, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms.
Adam, are you able to answer that? We'll get back to you. Yeah, we'll get back to you on that.
The thing is, that's why I asked the question, because a couple of other condos, when they came in and gave a presentation in the class, that monkey pod tree along Kapulani, that's a historical thing there and also in Palawan. Most recent condo that just been built, it's kind of heartbroken. They took away the monkey pod tree. There's a big gap, and now they have entrance going in and out of the sky. They haven't, I don't know what they're doing to replace that. And right now, the way they have that entrance going in, again, I've been part of that design aspect, that monkey pod tree is gone. The one that was before Scott, same thing happened. And so it's part of the community. And then, as my other colleague said, the concern they have is Waikiki. And now there's an encroachment here. And so it appears that it's kind of going to, landmark taxes are going to increase because you're going to have to afford the infrastructure. And if you've heard me before, you haven't. I've always talked about infrastructure. Sheridan, Kapulani. Right now, it takes, during peak periods, it takes anywhere to go like 2 to 3 miles, 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes. You're lucky if the traffic signal for the county. I'm all for development. I'm all for getting housing. I'm all for all of that, but we need to have something in writing. We put together a resolution in the past. Would propose other condos that's going to be developed here. And to look at more than 30 years, because you're looking at the life cycle, families growing up, particularly young couples. So something to consider. And then the traffic flow and infrastructure is really maybe as part of the community benefits, maybe working something with the local fire department to help increase by getting one or two more fire trucks. Something what can be worked. I don't know if that's something there. I proposed in the past, if you willing to work with the state, then as you're digging in, if you get this project approved, work with the infrastructure to help restore some of the aging pipes that's coming in, since you're digging that deep. It's not the problem, but that will be a community benefit to kind of work so that we all can benefit rather than building over the old infrastructure and then it bursts, then it more by the taxpayers. So when are you going to have the public hearings?
So the public hearing is 60 days after we submit the DPP.
Okay.
It's posted in the advertiser. We send the notice just to the immediate neighbors, but I believe we send them to the neighborhood board. I'll confirm that. It's after the DPP submission is the DPP public hearing at City Council. At all City Council hearings, you are able to testify.
And say if you do not get approval for the exception of the TOD variance of over 250 up to 400, would you still consider putting in the housing and affordability in that area?
Yeah. So I'd have to check with the developer. I mean, developing in Hawaii is, I'm sure you hear this from a lot of other developers, but it's challenging. It's also a kind of a puzzle. You look at the zoning code, you look at the utilities, infrastructure, and whatnot. But we would try our best, I guess, the most I can say, at working with the community benefits. Of course, we submit the DPP, come back out in the community, but we want to get a project that fits in the area and overall benefits the area, the Ala Moana.
I have one more point to that intersection, Sheridan, Copulon.
Yes.
That's been a problem. Egress from that area. We've always had a problem with that. That thing has to be solved because people are coming on Copulani, they're trying to hang a left where there's no left turn. And you have that coming in with that many people, you're just asking for a tragic outcome. So that has to be resolved. So I think when you do your plans, that intersection, it's got to be resolved. We've been trying to do it as a neighborhood board for years, and we haven't been able to work it out with DOT, the city, and anybody else that would listen to us. We still haven't gotten it resolved. So maybe that's something that when you start doing the planning, you can take a look at.
Yeah. Also, I just want to remind this board, maybe inform you that didn't we get a presentation a couple of months ago about 2 giant condos also going up on Sheridan, like 3 blocks up, like not even 3, but maybe 2 blocks.
That's correct. Yeah, and again, where they were going.
And Sheridan is 1 lane this way, 1 lane the other way. It's a very narrow street that you guys are choosing to all these high traffic buildings on.
And if your entrance is going to be on Sheridan, you've got a serious problem because now you've got to look further back because the traffic's going to be coming from South King Street. And then it's also coming from Kapiolani and even Murray before.
Yeah, it's actually.
You're probably going to Don Quixote's.
Yeah, the Malka Street of View is also just 2 lanes, 1 lane each way. It's a really tight,
something to consider. For these,
Well, Isaiah, you're in the hot seat.
No problem.
To resonate with all the other board members as well, affordable housing is such a loosely used term. Now, how about the HOA fees? Would that be reflective of something that's affordable as well?
Yeah, so is it okay, Kathleen, if I say some of that?
Absolutely.
Okay, there's a lot of discussion that went back, so I'll get to that. First, remember, Mariana, I know you talked about the monkey pod.
Yeah.
So in our current analysis, we plan to keep them. There's 7 fronting it. We studied the monkey pods, and we really hope to keep it with our current design. I mean, as you know, with these developments, we got to work with electrical, water, all of our utilities, and we'll do our best there. In past projects, we've seen if they needed to remove, they moved it somewhere that had an opening. I believe the Sky one, there was a pupa by First Line Bank that they were able to put a monkey pod there, or they're hoping to there. The utilities, so for all of our utilities, water, sewer, electrical, in our application process, we need to work with the agency. So we need people to say that there's enough electrical infrastructure. We need the city to pour the water to confirm the water supply, and similarly, the city for sewer. Traffic as well. We do have a traffic engineer on board that's going to study not only our project, but also the upcoming projects that Treasury Iwamoto mentioned maybe coming in the future. And they submit their report to the city as well for review. So these are all the utilities, all the infrastructure, things that we hire the experts, the external consultants, and then we work for that. For affordable housing, it's a really good question. And I personally strongly support affordable housing here. But our project, or this project, is looking at all our options right now. But once we get to DPP, we'll have something formalized. But if it's a for rent project, the affordable prices are capped. So if there's if there's typically if the association would go up or another fees would go up, the rent is capped. The city maintains it at a certain amount that's updated every year based on your income level, and for sale there's similar.
Okay.
You can't tell us any numbers.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the numbers yet.
Okay. Thank you. Member Davis online.
Hi. Yeah. I know you're kind of already getting a lot of it from the other board members, but I think you guys in this presentation have really given us a lot of detail on the design, and a lot of key features that you've put a lot of thought into. And I know that there are other players, when it comes to affordable housing, but I think that's something that in your presentation, again, at this point, I would really want to see developed a little bit more. Like what is your plan? What are the options? And coming to us, or again, when you submit your proposal, to include that kind of stuff. Because again, coming into a part of the community where that's going to be a big concern. And I think from other board members, you kind of hear traffic concerns, so not just what is it going to look like in terms of its impact in the community, but its long-term impact in terms of the logistical pieces as well.
Thank you.
And first Vice Chair Chief.
First off, thank you for coming over and doing a presentation. We do appreciate it when people come in to do presentations. It means a lot to us. And we will obviously, of course, ask hard questions, and we appreciate that you've been fielding them with a lot of kindness and grace. I do just want to emphasize all the other points that my fellow board members have made. These are very important points. And even as someone who lives in that neighborhood, I think it might have been board member Chang who said this, but the value of this new construction doesn't feel as great as the negative outcomes that I'm imagining coming from this already. And so definitely encourage you in your next presentation and throughout your planning process to make sure that you're bringing in value to the community, and value in places where the community wants value and needs value. So thank you again for coming over here, and I do look forward to seeing how this development improves. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Quick question. So I think I asked this with almost every development. What happens to the existing businesses that are there? Do folks talk to them? Do they get relocated? Do they kind of get immersed in whatever bottom floor you guys have planned? Or
Yeah, I think it depends on the development, depends on the business, but we, for this site, there's no existing tenants. It's not a residential lot. And there's existing tenants, commercial tenants, but not rental units or people living on site. So the developers generally they'll work with the tenants to give them very far advance notice. I mean, as you can see, we're a year away from our special district permit, and after that, it's a building permit and whatnot. So we work with the developers, give them as much advance notice as we can, and if possible, we try to bring them onto the project or to nearby projects. Some developers have multiple projects and they can move them around, but it's case by case.
Any other questions from board members? Okay, Ms. Maheshi K, you had a question.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Just to follow up on that question about the businesses there. How many businesses is your building displacing?
It's running room.
Yeah.
Did my question go through?
Yeah, I'll just add,
No,
we've reached
not.
out to all the
I
existing
didn't
tenants,
keep that.
just so you know, and we've offered them space in the new project. And so if they're interested, we'd be happy to accommodate them.
But is your new project rent the same as what they're paying now? You have to realize that you're just not displacing people who live here, but you're displacing their businesses. And
Yeah.
that is really another fine point here in Honolulu. It's not just affordable housing, but how many businesses are you displacing?
Yeah,
And
I
they can
think-
no longer pay rent that you will be charging them.
Yeah, our business is not in retail. We don't really make the money on retail. We want a retail that works for the community. So what we've done in other projects is we've offered existing tenants retail space, offered them at the same kind of rate that we offer them now, so that they're not displaced. And because if they're a good tenant, we want to keep them. No issue with that.
So whatever rent they're paying now, that's what you will charge them?
It's adjusted for inflation depending on how long, but yeah, it's about the same.
Oh, that's a dodgy question there, huh? I have one more question. On these units, I take it that they're condos, they're for sale, and the affordable housing question was brought up. What percentage of these units are going to residents who already live on Oahu, as opposed to people from elsewhere?
Thank you, Ms. K. I can help answer that. But the development is proposed as a condo hotel in its current state. There are state laws regarding the sales in and out of state. And I believe the regulation is 50% of the building, at least 50% needs to be offered for sure to local Hawaii residents for a set period of time. And I know it is in the state law that way. But I hope that answers your question.
Actually, how do you feel that this project that you're promoting is going to help alleviate our housing crisis here on Oahu, especially Honolulu?
No, that's a really good question, and
I know it is.
We don't have numbers to share at this time, but we are looking at offsite, onsite partnerships for just getting an affordable housing component as part of our community benefit. And we, of course, need to vet that with the city through those public hearings and through city council. So we are hoping to contribute to the affordable housing stock here.
And also, you're aware that we have a water crisis here, and yet you're bringing in how many more people from elsewhere in already drought existing conditions?
Yeah, yes, we are. And,
I know your main purpose is to make money, but this is not the place to do it.
Yeah, I will just add, I mean, I don't know if Isaiah wants to speak to this, but if you did notice, one of the community benefits we did offer, and it was kind of grazed over, is that we are, and we've done on other projects, a on-site water and wastewater recycling. So we can reuse about 75% of the water that the building uses. Now, this isn't done in Honolulu yet. It's only done in San Francisco and a few other places, but This is, I think, like the technology of the future and is literally the most sustainable high rise you can get in terms of water. So if it is allowed and we can install it in Honolulu, I think this would be a groundbreaking, future setting standard for Hawaii.
Okay, but it takes a lot of water to build your building. Where are you going to get that water from? You're going to take our drinking water to build your building. That's what I'm saying.
I
Down
see.
the road, you can do something else. But right now, we're in a drought. And we've had a water crisis for a very long time here. And that doesn't seem to be taken into consideration.
Thank you, Ms. K.
Thanks, Ms. Kay, for your question. If there are no other questions from the community, we will move on to the next presentation, also by Mr. Oh, go ahead.
Hi.
Could you state your name for?
Sure. Ben Sadowski with the Unite Here Local 5, the Hotel Workers Union. I guess, I mean, we're always concerned about condo-tel developments, but I know in particular, one of the things that we've raised in the past is that condo-tels could be used either as a residence or as a hotel. And depending on what percentage of the units, each unit can usually be, the owner can choose individually if they're gonna, live in their unit, rent it out, keep it empty, rent it out as a hotel room. And so the impacts of the community are very hard to judge because you don't know offhand, like, how many units are going to be used for what. Is there any, I guess, is there any way that the developers can have of trying to make that more clear? I mean, that's one thing. And I guess, it's sort of tricky either way, right? I mean, 890 units is, I think that's more units than are in the Disney Aulani, although I know those units are probably a lot bigger because they're timeshares, but it just seems like whether you have a big 890 unit hotel or an 890 unit residence right in that area, it's going to have a pretty big impact either way. But I think it's also, it just is important to note that depending on how the units are used, that impact could be, very different in nature. So that's just raise.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Did any of you folks want to respond to?
Well, if I could just one last thing.
Sure.
So at the neighborhood board, we're bringing these concerns to you. And so, we will probably resonate that up with the city, because they're the one that makes these decisions. And from the standpoint, talked about the infrastructure, water, fire, EMS, police. Those are the things that's really a concern. So now if you look at the overall argument, and I hope that you go forward. So you have this type of consideration, because now you have Sky, you have yours, you have all the others there, and other that's going up there. But the climate change and the seawater rise and all that, now that becomes a very concern. I think the resident brought up a good point, and that's been my concern as well. Water pressure would be something. So not to belabor that, but please take that into consideration so that when it gets to go forward, a lot of these questions are answered or at least put into consideration.
Thank you, Member Mariano. Well, the time is now 7:26 p.m. We can move on to the next presentation, which will also be by Mr. Isaiah Sato. Thank you for being here for your next presentation.
Spending time with you guys. No, thank you for having me today. I feel weird in this seat because I'm like
So
close to you guys.
Times two.
Yeah, I'm close to you guys, but I want to look at the screen to look at the members there and the audience too. So.
And for the community members online, we do have our Google Drive link in the chat if you'd like to follow along.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. I want to try to be quick on this presentation. I think, yeah, I'll try to go quick. So this applicant is KCR Development. They're they're proposing to construct a mixed-use project comprised of 627 market for sale and affordable for rent unit. I think we're working at getting it up, but this project is slated to get entitled through the IPDT process, the same process as the last project. Thank you, Elena. The next slide, please. So this next slide shows the vicinity map in the area. The red boundary line is that same Moana to the boundary. I like this map because it shows the different projects in the vicinity that have been developed. The green have either been constructed or under constructed. On this block,
Yeah.
The bottom green is style Moana. This one is the sewer is complete. Sky is almost complete. Ready to move in shortly. The apartment film to begin construction. This is the other site that we're talking about, and I'm going to say it down here in red. It's the next slide, please. It's with the Pilani Boulevard. It's right on the north side. On the street is on the Mokai side. The Pilani residence is on the left-hand side. This slide.
Sorry, so you're right behind the Mandarin? Is that, did I hear you correctly?
The proposed Mandarin, yeah. So this is the building that's making sure. Yeah, but it's just Mandarin Oriental. It's trying to say it's Pilani residence. On one of the top, right across. Closer to convention center, on the other side of the district, this side please. So our project site is around 56,000 square feet, about 1.25 acres. Similarly, zoned street business mixed use, and the existing uses single-story food and beverage establishments. The conceptual program on the next slide is completely residential, 627 residential units. Our current scheme has 515 market for sale and 112 affordable for rent. So the affordable for rent on this project is proposed at 80% AMI for 30 years. There. The commercial area on the ground floor is around 9,200 square feet. On the left side, we have just a program. On the first floor, we have commercial, our lobby, back of house. Levels 2 through 9 is where we have our parking area, the podium area. Chair is up to level 9 here. And above that is on the left side, we have a mid-rise building that goes 10 to the 18th floor. And on the right side of this image, it goes up to the 43rd floor residential tower. So this one is a 400-foot building as well. The next slide shows our ground floor plans. At the top of this image is Sopiolani Boulevard. Below, a little bit cut off, but it's Kona Street. There on the right side of this screen is a pass through from Sopiolani to Kona Street. We also have the porte cochere. The lobby area is in orange. The upper purple area is commercial, so we're hoping to activate the Sopiolani frontage almost completely by commercial businesses there. On the next slide, it's a little zoomed in here too. The full presentation is online, right? Yeah. Okay. So we transmitted the full presentation to Chair Lee, and that's online for you as well. But on the left side is our rec deck area, the 10th floor. On the Sopiolani Boulevard frontage, we have our mid-rise portion. In the middle is our tower. There, and we have some recreational spaces. We have a pool, fitness area, children playroom, barbecue area, and other recreational areas. On the right side, we show our residential floor plan, which is the 11th through the 18th floor. And the next slide is the rec deck and residential area on the left side, floor 1920. Kind of that T-shaped building, so Sopiolani Boulevard on top. There's that mid-rise building, and the remainder of the tower goes up. On the right side is just a typical floor plan for the remainder of the building. The next slide is our 2 elevation views. I'll skip through this one real quick, but the left side is just from Kupilani across the street facing forward. On the right one is if you're on the convention center side looking towards the project. The next slide, it shows our proximity towards towards the building and towards existing and proposed building in the area. The mid-rise portion, which is that top frontage, the numbers are a little bit tough to see here, but it's 60 feet, about 60 feet from the existing Pilani residence tower. That's a foreign building next door. On the east side of that, it's about 170 feet from the proposed Mandarin Oriental. The high-rise portion, the lower part of that dark yellow T is about 140 feet from Kupilani residence and 90 feet from the Mandarin, the other side. The next slide shows a conceptual rendering. This rendering is from the Malta Kupilani Boulevard side, looking Mackay, that portion in the front of that mid-rise that we've been discussing, and the main tower, the base of the T, the remainder there. And Kathleen, for this on the podium, would be on the next slide, we have our zoning flexibility maps, our TOD maps on the left side of the screen. We're in an area that's saved for up to 400 feet. Building on the right side show up to 10.0 as we are. And this next slide is our last slide. We have a lot of data here. From the top, the density, the LUO requirement for density is 2.5, and it's under the 2D plan, it's 10.0 community benefits. We're proposing a 10.0 density. Building height, the annual ordinance has it at 350 feet up to 400 with benefits. We're proposing 400 foot building. Podium height limited to 65 feet, and we're proposing podium up to around 92 feet. There are height setbacks that we approach into when we go past the existing height, and we are encroaching into those, so we're requesting an exemption of that. The next one is the Pilani Boulevard. It's a very specific rule in the TOD plan of Pilani Boulevard. They want the first floor to be 12 feet from the property line, and then above that to be 20 feet. We are showing a consistent 20 feet through the podium and building there. And the next slide is vehicle parking. So we have 849 stalls, slightly higher ratio than in the TOD plan. The one line below Malcolm Mackay, so the upper floor, that high-rise area, you can see it oriented Malcolm Mackay. The lower floor to that mid-rise portion is not Malcolm Mackay. And the last one, which is cut off here, but the streetscape transparency in the TOD plan is about 75% recommended, which basically means on the street frontages, you want to activate it with transparent uses like commercial or open area chairs, retail and whatnot. And we have a very high transparency along Pilani with the full commercial frontage, but on Kona Street, on the back of house on the center side, we have a lower transparency on that side. That's it. I will open it up to questions.
Thank you. Treasurer Moto.
Yes, so you mentioned 80% AMI.
Yes.
Given the cost of electricity, the cost of water, sewage, cost of food, somebody who's earning 80% AMI, do you think, are these tenants expected to pay 1/4 of their take home for rent or 1/3 of their take home for rent?
I'm not sure on the exact basis for the analysis. Application to the city. That way, when you're talking about electrical utilities, the 80% AMI level or price that's regulated, so I don't have it with me, but it includes all utilities,
Oh.
all water and stuff. So,
So they
so
pay a
it's
price
capped,
that
yeah.
they can afford.
So if electrical costs go up, which they have, I'm sure you know, in recent years, the rent price comes down. So,
Okay.
or it stays the same, the max stays the same, but say you did 200 to electric before, if it's 300 now, then the rest of the price would go down to keep.
So it's not like the government is subsidizing the amount,
No.
no, okay. So you're allowed to charge what this individual or family would be able to pay based on that.
Yeah.
But again, for me, that's why I want to know the formula. Is it 25% of their take home or 30% or 33% of their take home?
I'd have to check. I know our formula, the city bases their numbers off the state, which bases their numbers off the feds. So the US Housing Department, HUD, they come out with numbers each year.
Oh, okay.
And the state makes it fit Hawaii more, and the exact ratio.
Right.
But it is updated every year.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Thank you, Treasurer Romano. Any other questions from other board members? Same concerns or?
Yeah, at least you've got some numbers that you can give us regarding affordable housing. Thank you. The issues I have, of course, is your high podium, and your setbacks. Those are always going to be issues. Still think you're a little light on the green space out in the area. The other question is pet friendly or not. I always ask that. And of course, I understand not having as much transparency on the street side of that. That's more of a utility street and probably, I don't know, is it still privately owned or is it? Yeah. The bonus street is. Bonus, still. Yeah. So. Yeah. Oh, so, yeah, that was my main concern is that since we've got street, it's straight up to the village. And I hate it at Kapilani residences. I'm gonna hate it more when you guys put that out. But I understand about the community benefit, and I think that the affordable housing number at least is there. It's something for us to chew on, at least to consider. I would like to see some other amenities that the community can have in that particular development. I mean, community benefit of affordable housing is good, but some amenities would be nice. And like in your other development, maybe some announcement of amenities, not so much like this here. So I was a little bit concerned about what kind of amenities the public would have for that. So maybe that can be addressed when you start to go through the approval process. Again, you're asking for a pretty good variance on this, so I think that you need to, again, step up your game, community benefits, especially in this case, for some of them. I think that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Member Chang, real quick, for Mr. Mariana, I forgot to mention, didn't have a slide on it, but for the affordable housing, a portion of it is required under the ordinance, and then the remainder is for our community benefits. So, trying to make that a keynote here. And we're also potentially looking at bike share, car share, other TOD things in the area.
No corridor, right?
No port duct, yeah. The lobby area, right now it's designed all in the port share, all together coherent. We did meet with DVP and that location may shift a bit, but
Maybe the community benefit would be adding additional parking spaces so that people that go to the convention center can park. That was just an off. Again, the concern that I had is the infrastructure. Right there, Kapiolani that turns on to
Atkinson.
that turns there, and then you also go straight, and then during the peak period when you have those lanes widened and all that. And, so that becomes a major concern, particularly in the area.
Widen and coned off
So-
certain times of the day.
Not sure the best way to ask this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So this is gonna be a mixed use, correct? So it's part of business, part of condo, and then part of affordable housing. But it's also gonna be a hotel as well, so that we can have short-term rentals.
No, this project is mixed use. In the ground floor, we have about 9,000 square feet commercial, the residential market and affordable, no hotel use on this site, no hotel, no condo hotel use.
Because that would be a concern, because that's part of that, folks, and that's what get their singers from short-term rentals, particularly outside investors.
Yeah,
So it makes it unreachable, unaffordable for the affordable individuals. So I guess if I were to come out in public area and maybe city council will look at it, but part of the affordable housing, we have some families are section in. So we would like to have them, and so if they were to live there in that unit, would it be afforded the opportunity to share the amenities or the limitations? That's part of it. That's something to be talked about down the road. It's all part of the community living.
Member Davis online?
Hi, yeah, I think compared to the other project too, I think the fact that these are more targeted towards residential and it's not kind of, again, that hotel I think is a big part of the feeling of encroachment from the Waikiki area, and not kind of knowing where those things will be attributed. But I don't know if this, I actually live in income restricted housing as a teacher in the Hawaii DOE. And I don't know how much I can speak to that, but like my rent hasn't changed over the past 4 years. But like electricity and that's completely separate. So I need to educate myself a little bit better, I think, between affordable housing, income restricted housing. But in terms of that, again, like even for like, I don't have a family, but really thinking about what affordable housing means, especially to live in this area so that people can like work and continue to kind of be a part of the community is something like I really think we need to consider kind of on a higher scale.
What's the timeline on this?
It would be a similar timeline to the last project. So we're hoping to submit to DPP in the next few months. DPP, then City Council, and then back to DPP. So DPP we could expect from October to January, February next year, potentially, and then City Council maybe 3 or 4 months after that.
Okay, thank you, Member Davis. Any questions from folks online? Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Isaiah Sato, for sitting with us. Good hour. Appreciate you answering questions as well. And again, we do have your presentation online if anyone would like to refer to it. Does that include your contact information as well in the event that people want to follow up?
Yeah, so my info should be at the end of the presentation. If not, you can share my email with the community as well.
Chair, could I invite him back if they come back and develop their plan a little bit more, just come back and update us, and appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hey, board members, thank you for your questions as well. Residents and community concerns. Do we have any? No? Okay. Move on to elected official reports. Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative.
Hello. Thank you, Chair. This is Ben Sullivan. I'm Mayor Berlangiardi's new representative for Alamana Board. I'm going to go real quick because I know you're running behind schedule for this. So I'll just start my timer and use the 3 minutes I have. starting right now. So we have 5 updates from the mayor's office. One is protecting our paradise, which early this summer, the city entered into an agreement with Matt Levy Security to provide a specialized security team to enhance public safety efforts along Trujillo Beach. These additional efforts, combined with the continued success of the Safe and Sound program, are creating a friendlier, safer, and more secure Waikiki for both visitors and locals. Second update, Mayor announces key hires. So the short of this one is that there's 2 new department heads that have joined the mayor's team. One is Jeanelle Bono, who is now the acting or the designated director of the Department of Facility Maintenance. And then one is Vita Holyfield, who is going to be running the Department of Enterprise Services. So they are director designates. They have to go through their council process to be confirmed as directors, and that'll be happening soon if it hasn't already. Third item on the report here is Skyline's first month ridership numbers. And so we're happy to report that 170,185 riders enjoyed Skyline in its first month of operation. And we're encouraging folks to join in and take use of that new service, especially with students heading back to school and an expectation there may be more traffic on the roads. Next item is affordable housing in Honolulu, very pertinent to this conversation tonight. So as many of you likely know, on July 17th, Governor Josh Green signed an emergency proclamation to combat the escalating affordable housing crisis in Hawaii. Now, a collaborative effort by the state and all 4 counties will seek to streamline the regulatory processes for the development of 50,000 housing units over the next 5 years. Representatives from the city's mayor's office and the Department of Planning and Permitting will work with the state's Build Beyond Barriers working group to fast track affordable housing projects and speed up the construction of new housing units. Finally, the last item I'm going to report on tonight is keeping our neighbors safely housed. So as housing costs increase, some of our neighbors are struggling more than ever to pay their rent and utility bills. To reach these households, 8 community events for the Rental and Utility Relief Program, otherwise known as RURP, were held this summer along with RURP's partners. These events were part of RURP's temporary reopening this summer, funded with $25 million in state and local fiscal recovery funds. More than 600 Oahu families applied for short-term rent and utility help at these events, and RURP has helped more than 18,000 Oahu families stay safely housed during and after the pandemic. That's all I have. Happy to answer questions. I know you have a lot more in your agenda. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Treasurer Moto.
Oh, thank you. When the mayor's office had their point person on homelessness come to our meeting a while ago, a couple of years ago, and at that time he indicated that we only had enough temporary shelter or housing for only 50% of those who are currently unsheltered. If they all said, I'm ready to be housed, we can only house 50% of them. Has that number changed at all?
You know, I do not have accurate data on that. I'd have to defer and get back to you if we want to put that in the minutes, and happy to do so.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Also, secondly, given the what happened in Lahaina, if we one of them caught on fire and the fire was rapidly spreading, would the city and county of Honolulu, like in this area, turn on the emergency sirens, or would we, if there was a fire, or would we not?
So
a fire that was out of control.
Apologies on 2 counts. One is that you cut out in the middle of what you were saying, but I think the gist of it was, would we use the civil defense sirens in the event of a wildfire in this area? You know, I don't have a direct response to that. That's the Department of Emergency Management. I do know that's a very active conversation based on the events in Maui, and that there's going to be some protocols established for such things going forward. If there's anything we can report at the next meeting, we can again capture that in the minutes and see if there's information we can provide. But at this time, I do not have anything I can offer you.
I understand. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Treasurer Moto. Any other questions from board members? Councilmember Calvin Say.
Hi, Kathy. Yep, I'll be very brief. My report is in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you folks may have. For Maheshi, I think what we should also do as far as the Mr. Chang, the alarm at Kalakaua Housing, contact the State Department of Hawaii Public Housing Authority. They are the managers, rather than just call the police department. Secondly, we've had problems with the Mr. Weidenbach. We did meet with the residents of the Yacht Harbor Towers in regards to the Ala Moana Promenade, whereby the homeless is there, yes. And I believe they are setting up a community policing group to monitor the promenade from Kalakaua all the way down to Ala Moana. And that's part of the responses from some of the residents this evening, Kathleen, as far as the concerns that they may have had. And thank you very much for the presentation by the Department of the Fire Department and the Police Department. And finally, Mr. Sato. I learned a lot on those two projects also. So I'll get a chance maybe sometime next year in addressing it, if it does pass DPP.
Can I just ask Council, this is Maheshi.
Yeah,
Councilman Say, can you repeat that again, what you just told me to do? I was not clear on that.
Okay, for the, was it the fire alarm?
No, I think that was somebody else.
Oh,
had,
okay.
I was talking about,
the noise pollution?
yeah, you gave me the Department of Health.
Yes. The noise division of branch. Yeah, branch division.
Okay.
And what did I add? Maybe Kathy, would you know what I just stated for Maheshi? Was there another topic that she brought up this evening that I tried to respond?
I don't remember. I don't think that I ever got her to do as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I wasn't sure, because I don't remember asking another question about noise, but someone else did ask a question in the chat about
I think it was the noise.
Siren?
The noise. You should
Siren
contact the
noise, yeah.
Department of Health.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But for all of us, the old days, the siren was there to make us aware that there is an emergency occurring, and it's for the general public health.
Thank you. Treasurer Yamamoto.
Thank you, Councilmember Say. I
Yes.
just wanted to let you know that I appreciate your concern for unfunded mandates.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I say the same thing to the Department of Public Safety when we create these criminal laws, but we don't give them more money to house criminals. But back to are you saying that when you were at the legislature, did we fund all of these tweaks to the laws?
No, see, we took it for granted that HPD would do everything for us.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember Say. Any other questions? Member Mariano.
Yeah, Councilmember Say.
Yes, Lynn.
Thank you for your passion, particularly with the infrastructure and things that, I'm kind of talking about here at the neighborhood part. My concern is, just simple things like the crosswalks. Again, this is something I think that the city, your jurisdiction, the state, or I'm not sure where it goes, but down in Waikiki, for example, when you come up, you got that four-way crossing, with that special crosswalk that they made so you can cross diagonally. We have that same thing on the Walmart. Right?
Yeah,
Walmart.
I think Lynn, that's the safe streets or complete streets of is it
Yeah.
Kiamoko?
Yep. And so, I think when we start to do those things, we can help us monitor that. from the
Okay.
standpoint of ensuring that it's being done properly.
Well, I can work with Ben in trying to address it with I forgot was it Renee Espial who was in charge? She goes to some of the other board meetings, that's why, and she does complete streets or safe streets. We did that for the Moiliili Makali area board members also. But I'll be happy to sit down with you and talk stories about concerns that you folks may have. Because, yeah, you folks are all tied in with the Makiki Townless Neighborhood Board also.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Pensacola, Picoy.
and so like the last thing we just mentioned, about these, the TODs,
Yeah.
developers are coming in, they're, the TOD is 250, and they're already planning for 400. So it's kind of like, building monster houses, that's impossible. So that would be a concern, because until we can have, and I think you pointed out earlier, if the city is not going to get reimbursed for all these other add-ons, then we can't help, as the neighborhood board, help the city council to be sound voices for the community. So appreciate whatever type of support that can be rendered in that regard, so that we can ensure that the voices are heard on the lower level.
Well, this is just me at this point in my life and my career. The more laws that we create that we don't enforce is a reflection that people are not going to respect the law.
Yeah.
And that's a concern I have. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I'll see you folks next month.
Oh, we actually are in recess in September, just as a heads up. So see you in October.
Okay, got it.
Thank you. Here. Councilman Smith, tab.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's Robin Hensky.
Okay, hi.
4 updates today for this evening, for this month. By request of the Moana Kakako Neighborhood Security Watch, State DOT was able to cut the grass at the intersection of Kapiolani Boulevard and Ward Avenue. I know there's been complaints of the tall grass that's been cut. 2, there was safety concerns about Mother Waldron Park's bathrooms, and they have since been periodically closed by the Department of Parks and Recreations due to the safety and hygiene concerns. So they just shut down the bathrooms and have them for cleaning. We have a upcoming park cleanup if anyone wants to attend. I put that in the chat box. Ka'uvela cleanup. That's going to take place Saturday, September 16th, if anyone's available. And then our August newsletter is also in the chat. And Councilmember DeSantos Tam and I will be available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hensky. Questions from members?
I'm also available for questions. Good job, Robin.
Thank you, Councilmember. Representative Scott Nishimoto or Taylor Duffy?
Hi, Chair Kathleen. I'm board. Representative Nishimoto sends his regards. Currently we don't have too many updates. He wanted to share about a community event happening at one of our local businesses. Viola Shave Ice is hosting a fundraiser all week for the Maui wildfires. So that might be like a fun activity for you and your family to stop by. Otherwise, I'm happy to take back any concerns to the representative. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you for being here tonight, Ms. Taylor. That's really appreciate it. Representative Adrian Tam, is here in person. Thank you.
Thank you, members. You have my report with you. I know that I only represent a small portion of this neighborhood board, but I do want to invite everyone to a town hall that Senator Moriwaki and I are hosting at the Waikiki Community Center on September 28, 2023. I want to announce this to you guys now because you guys are in recess the next time. That specializes in condo issues, the Office of Housing and Homeless Solution, and the Department of Law Enforcement. Again, that is at the Waikiki Community Center on September 28th, 2023, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m.
You will set a flyer for that, any chance?
We will send out an email to everyone. We just nailed down the date today.
Yeah.
I also wanted to state for the public record that we did have a bill that would not create an unfunded mandate, but a funded mandate for county police officers to enforce noise. Senator Moriwaki introduced it, and I introduced the House companion. And the Senate companion was the one that was moving forward. It was called Senate Bill 1418. It appropriates funds to county law enforcement to purchase decibel readers and to train them through the Department of Health on how to use them. The Department of Health supported it. The other counties did not support send in any testimony for it, but the prosecutor and HPD did oppose the bill. So my recommendation is, for you to contact your city council members and ask them to support Senate Bill 1418. To pass a resolution to support SB 1418 as well.
Okay, thank you.
Now I open it up to any questions.
Thank you, Representative Tam. Questions from board members?
So just, Representative, as you heard earlier, council members say and did mention that, passing this bill, it's hard for them, particularly HPD, to enforce, particularly if there's been funding going in to help, reverse. So is it possible that the Senate Bill 1418 can be amended so that it can be put in there as a line item? So that if this pilot program is approved and you have all the things that's there, that some of the funding that's done for all of the fines, a portion of that is sent over to the city so that the city can go ahead and reimburse HPD for some of the costs.
So I think I need to clarify, Senate Bill 1418 is funding HPD already with decibel readers and proper training to use them. But because they're having trouble running it, we decided to skip out the middleman and put these noise detection cameras. So it'll go straight to the judiciary once they're caught. And the judiciary will have to work out with the defendant on whether or not they violated the noise ordinance. Whether the fines go to HPD, I do not know whether or not it will. But this will put money in HPD.
Okay, I'm at a loss because I have not read this bill. Has already passed committee.
So this bill passed the Senate and is in the House right now, so it is still there. But we decided to stall the bill because HPD opposed it.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll have a change of heart. So they said that they don't want. It's also public record. March 6, 2023, there's a Star Advertiser article on it that talks all about it. HPD does say why they oppose it in there. They said that they feel like their resources could be going to someplace else.
Do you put the Senate bill in the check?
Any other questions?
1418, yeah.
Yes, Senate Bill 1418.
Hey, any other questions? Thank you, and Dr. Tam for being here and participating.
So Madam Chair, until the board can, myself, other board members, we can be well versed in Senate Bill 1418. That's the representative asked us to, we will support doing the resolution for that. We support that bill. And so we'll kind of table it until we can actually sit down and learn
Yeah.
to ensure what it's all about, because I'm for one that, if we're gonna have these things, then we're gonna have to have enforcement. If you don't have the backing to enforce HPD so that they can do the enforcement, that becomes a challenge. If this bill was correct, and it was meant to be the way it's supposed to be, again, I'm not saying I'm disrespecting it. So I could be wrong in my interpretation right now, just based on what I heard so far. that HPD would have supported it, and this would not be an issue where we'll put a resolution in to support this. So I think once we get that, we can learn about it, then we can bring it up in the action committee. We can sit down and talk about that.
Sure.
And then we don't waste much time.
And we should have time. We're in recess next month. Next meeting is in October. Yeah, and then session starts in January, so we have a good amount of time to.
So Representative, when is the bill going up for a vote?
So the bill is carried over from this session over to
Next
next
session.
session.
Okay.
Warehouse.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mariana. Okay, speaker Scott, thank you. Speaker, I think you might be on mute.
Okay, there, sorry. First of all, I want to just thank all of the residents. Dozens and dozens and dozens of residents have been contacting our offices, asking how they can help Maui residents. And, I think it's just been just so gratifying to hear from so many people who've been trying to help, including medical professionals in our community. Doctors, mental health counselors, psychologists have been calling. But I thank all of the residents who have been taking the time to do that. I think I'll just give a brief report on what's happening with Maui. Just wanted everyone to know that the House is working very closely with the governor. We're in constant communication with the governor and his team. As you know, they're on the first phase of this effort, which is search and rescue. FEMA is on the ground. There are about 1,000 federal workers on the ground in Maui now, helping with search and rescue and other operations. I think once the search and rescue aspect is over, then the governor's team will move on to remediation. Remediation of the land and the surrounding ocean will take. It's going to take. It's going to take a long time to remediate the contamination that we'll be finding in the soil. And then while that's going on, I think the governor and his team will be working on a planning process with the community for the future of Lahaina, as well as Maui itself. And I think what we've seen in recent days, this is an outpouring of concerns from the community on the future of that area. And I know that the House, the House takes that very seriously, and will be working with the governor to make sure that the community is heard during that process. If I could just mention one thing on what Representative Tam mentioned on Senate Bill 1418, sometimes there's bills that come up at the legislature where law enforcement, where the police, for whatever reason, and I think in this case they may have felt that Senate Bill 1418 is not really enforceable. But there'll be situations where the police will oppose proposals that are being heard. I think it's really important for the community to weigh in on bills like this, and I would like to invite the neighborhood board as well to weigh in on bills like this that are a priority for those in our community, because I think the police department needs to know that there is public backing, that there's community backing for these kinds of proposals that are being introduced. So I think I'll work with Senator Moriwaki and Representative Tam as well and Representative Nishimoto to bring these kinds of bills to the board. I think it would be important to for all of us to show support for these proposals. So thanks. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Speaker Saiki. Questions? Okay, we appreciate you being online this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Sharon Moriwaki or Charles Guzman from her office?
Apologies, Senator Moriwaki couldn't be here. She is off island, but I am here. You have our report. I just posted it again in the chat. And if you have any questions, I can take it back to her.
Thank you. Is there some other questions from the board? Okay, thank you. Being here this evening. Mr. Adam Weintraub, is he here? Okay. And Congressman Ed Case's representative? Time is now 8:13. We're going through agency reports. HCDA. Do we have anyone from HCDA online to deliver their report? Okay. Part, Mr. Johnny Reed.
My name is Johnny Reed. I'm with Heart's Public Involvement Team. Thanks for having me back. I think last time I was here was June 2021, but I've been with the Public Involvement Team for about 7 years, help with construction outreach and information for Heart's project. I'm going to put some information in chat, and if you don't mind, I'm going to share a screen real quick. All right, so for just some services, or DTS, manages day-to-day operations. For ways to keep up to date with Heart's construction updates or informations, we have project website. It's www.honolulutransit.org. It's what I have on screen before you. Another way to connect with the project is a 24-hour project hotline. It's 808-566-2299. I happen to have that cell phone right over there with the rest of my belongings. So it's a 24-hour hotline. If you have any questions, inquiries, concerns, feel free to call the project. If you prefer to submit a written question, we have a project email. It's info@honolulutransit.org. And another useful tool we have, again, is our website and our e-blast, which I'll cover those on screen shortly. As mentioned earlier, DTS manages day-to-day operations of Skyline. If you have any questions regarding ridership, schedules, fares, integration of the bus and Skyline, or for general city transit information, please visit DTS's website, honolulu.gov/Skyline. They have their own Skyline customer service. It's 808-848-5555. And that's the same number you might be familiar with for the bus. And they also have a project email at skyline@honolulu.gov. Switching over to what you see on before you on screen, this is our Heart's website, honolulutransit.org. If you're interested in information, just type in the website. There's a lot of information on the left shoulder. We have a little carousel here with basic links to the Skyline website with DTS and the Holo card, which is tend to be a lot of our on the website is links to our business and community meetings. We do one for City Center, Dillingham, one for City Center in downtown, and our airport guideline stations contractor also hold community meetings. One last feature all the way at the bottom is a link to our weekly e-blast. You can subscribe online, or if you don't want to subscribe, you can check out an archive we have. If you click on that link, it'll open up a folder that you can peruse all of our e-blasts. And the last thing I want to share is a copy of our e-blast that goes out every Monday. This is edition for August 21st. First section is a video link to a Heart Board of Directors meeting held on August 17th. You can click on that. It's embedded in the video. Get some information and agenda. Next section is a Monday traffic update. I try to write a section that highlights more impactful lane closures on the alignment. This one is work by our downtown utilities relocation contractor, Frank B. Paluccio Construction. They periodically take highway onto road. So just some of your bearings, River Street, there is specific for disclosure, they're taking off ramp from Monday of next week through September 1st, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. They're going to close this off ramp and then detour to Sumner Street to get back to Eagle Lake Road. So a short little jog around the block, so they can do some utility work there. And last section on our weekly e-blast, we feature this every week. We do a weekly business spotlight. Sorry. Our program is called Shop and Dine on the Line. It's a way to promote businesses, services, different vendors and retailers on the project alignment. It's a free advertising tool that Hart implements to spotlight different places to eat. This week's feature is Kulong to Vietnamese restaurant. This one is on 175 North Hotel Street. And again, these are free for businesses to advertise, and we want to make sure people know where to shop at night and so on. That's all I had for my report for Hart. I'm open for any questions you have with our construction, and I'll do my best to answer.
If we patronize that business and we say we work from Hart, we get a 10% discount.
Actually, we don't require any of the businesses that want to subscribe any requirement to give a discount. But if you tell them you got it from us, they would appreciate just as much as anyone. It's just another tool with a lot more, we want to get traffic out there. And with our construction all over Dillingham, downtown, we want to make sure we reach out to business and you can say, if you want to be on it, no charge, give us a write-up, give us some images. If you have these questions you want to promote, we can do that free of charge. It's on our website, and just another way to kind of get free and push out.
Well, on a serious note, you open up and I can see the trains going from Kapolei all the way to the stadium. I think you can increase your ridership, particularly when this part of the land open up to the airport, because that's already completed. I think you're already now going down the Eagle Lake side. So is there a possibility to open it up so that we can have part tests the ride from Kapolei to the airport? So then, that's part of that benefit. So what that would be.
Well, thank you. That's definitely part of the plan. I appreciate the question. So the airport guideway and stations contractor, AGS, they're nearing completion of the stations. The guideway is already installed. The track above the guideway is already installed, but the stations haven't yet been completed. Once the stations are done, it gets handed over to Hitachi, who then run their training, testing, and their validation. So that's the next process. We expect the airport guideway stations to be largely complete by the end of this year. Once Hitachi moves in, there's a duration for their testing. The same thing they did on the first 10 miles. And Hart is expecting about mid-2025 to open up past the airport to Middle Street. It's likely going to be one continuous section through the Makalapa station by Pearl Harbor, look at the airport. Next station is at Lagoon Drive and by Loop, and then to the Middle Street Transit Center station. It'll all be one continuous opening. And again, mid-2025 is what Hart expects to hand that over to DTS with then extend that operations. So still got some time to go for Hitachi to get their testing in. But yeah, you're right. It looks from the ground up, everything above on the superstructure, the guideway is all done. It's just a matter of Hitachi moving in to put their communications. And to that end, it's actually started. The airport station, the Pearl Harbor station, Hitachi's been installing their cables, their communications equipment. They're moving into the Lagoon Drive station. They have some lane closures periodically with Mass Electric, American Electric. They're installing their cabling. And then once STG, the airport administration contractor, is out of Dodge, Hitachi can start rolling in and do their testings. And then that's which is closer to the date of the next opening.
I didn't hear the report regarding what was the daily ridership.
Ooh, I would have to defer to Director Sullivan, I think it was. I don't have the number. That's definitely a DTS thing. We constructed it, handed it over to DTS. But the numbers, the tallies, they have access to like the whole part, the fare gates when people enter and exit. I'd have to defer to Director Sullivan.
Yeah, I thought maybe because I didn't.
Yeah, I missed that too when it came off. Audio wasn't too good.
Well, on that right, I would be interested to hear about the people with this is what's the leadership.
I can take it back to DTS and see if they have anyone that can respond, because you're on recess in September. But I don't have it correctly, so.
Email. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed, for being here with us this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, Honolulu Board of Water Supply, do we have anyone on there? Okay, they did turn in the written online. Board members who have email addresses, you would have already gotten their proposed by rate water rate schedule. So if you have any questions on that, please feel free to email them. They were doing presentations for August and September. They didn't have anyone available for this meeting and we're in recess in September. So again, if you have questions for the Board of Water Supply, please email them. They're more than happy to get a question recorded. So.
We just went through increases already, and that's 5 more years.
Yes, so please take a look and bring any concerns that you may have. Announcements, just like with any other meeting, we have our social media accounts. There is an application for variance from 888 Aaliyah. Materials are online in our Google Drive. From reviews, and again, as I mentioned earlier, the board will be in recess in September. And I think we are done for the meeting. It is 8:23. This meeting is adjourned.